Welcome in everyone, my name is Ro, I'm a project manager, content creator, and healthy productivity fanatic. And today we're actually going to do something super fun because we're going to take a look at everything on my phone. I like to walk you guys through all of the things that I have on my phone, from things like apps, focus modes, how I use Notion, and how I use everything on my phone to kind of keep my life organized, and also how I try, and I like emphasis on try, how I try to keep my screen time to a minimum. This is a huge challenge as a person working as a content creator because I can't really delete any of the social apps from my phone. I need them to be able to do my job, but at the same time, they are terribly distracting and it's really easy to just kind of get lost on the doom scrolling. So I would like to show you what I've done on my phone to kind of counter this and talk you through how well this works and what I would like to kind of improve in the future, and also what I'm looking forward to in maybe like future updates of iPhone or things that I'm missing to kind of help me with this. So let's actually go into my phone and then I'm gonna walk you through everything. So we're gonna start on my home screen, and as you can see, my home screen only has widgets. I actually have multiple home screens, but I'm gonna walk you through all of them to kind of explain my vision behind the setup of my phone. So whenever you open my phone, basically when you unlock it, this is going to be the first home screen. In the top corner, I have a clock, and that always feels a little bit silly because quite literally right above it, we have the default clock that is shown in like the top bar of iPhone. But I use my clock a lot because of my health. So I'm like, I have a bunch of alarms set. I need to adjust those alarms, obviously every day of setting my alarm. And I just feel like it's nicer to have it really big on my home screen. It makes it feel like it's very clear that that's my home screen. So I have the clock app there, and whenever I click on it, it actually opens the clock app. Then I have Notion calendar right next to it. I like the view where you can kind of see the dates because I really often use this to kind of see what dates it is this week, and you know, when I'm trying to meet up with people. I have to be completely honest, I'm not a huge fan of the Notion app or like the Notion calendar app on mobile. I have been debating if I want to switch back to Google Calendar, but my biggest downside to this is that I wouldn't be able to see my Notion tasks in my calendar. Although, if I am going to be completely frank, I mostly look at that on desktop. I don't very often look at my Notion calendar and like see all of the tasks that I have linked from it for my databases on my phone. So on Notion, you can only see a 1 day, a 2 day, or a 3 day view. And I feel like the 3 day view already isn't enough for me. I want to be able to see my whole week. Also, I have a bunch of calendars that I even have turned off right now because I feel like it makes it really messy and really like kind of overwhelming if I look at my Notion calendar. So I've been debating going back to Google Calendar on my phone specifically, and then on my computer just continue to use Notion Calendar. I would absolutely love to hear your opinions on Notion Calendar, specifically on phone, and how you're experiencing it, and if you found any like smart workarounds for this. But nonetheless, even if I were to use Google Calendar, I would have a calendar widget right here. And then I actually have 4 widgets that are all specific Notion pages. For those of you who wonder how you can add widgets on your phone, all you have to do is just long press on your home screen, and then at the top corner, you see a little plus icon. If you press that, you can add all kinds of widgets to your home screen, including Notion widgets, and Notion allows you to link specifically to pages within your Notion space. So for those of you who've seen my full Notion tour, you will have noticed that I actually have mobile-specific dashboards for certain of my databases to make them a bit more mobile-friendly, and those are actually the databases that I have linked as like huge buttons on my home screen. So I have my Today view, which is basically a view of everything happening today in my life. So you can see the content that is airing today, the events that I have today, and the concerts and the festivals that I have today. This basically gives me a really quick overview of anything going on in my life that is important, and if there's anything that I need to like pay attention to. So it's just a quick check for myself. This isn't necessarily a page that I use a lot to interact with, but it's more like an information page, so to say. Then if I go back, I also have my task view, which is my literal task database that I also have on my homepage in my Notion. But I have like all of my tasks. I have at the top, I have like a segment that is called overdue tasks. This is everything that I was supposed to do, but the deadline is passed and I haven't ticked it as done. So I can quickly see if there's anything that I need to catch up on. Then I can see everything that I need to do today and all of the upcoming days and can kind of scroll through. This was my best way to recreate, for instance, the views that you have in Todoist, because I used to use Todoist. If you're ever curious how the switch was from Todoist to Notion, I do have a whole separate video on that. I'll link it in the description box down below. But basically, this was the closest I could get with Notion databases to still have a task view on my phone that was a little bit more mobile friendly than having like a full dashboard. Then I have my journal. My journal is basically where every day at the end of the day, I write a short summary about my day. I have like a couple of parameters that I fill in every day about how much pain I had, how much sleep I had, how much steps I took, to hopefully kind of build up a history surrounding my health, both physical and mental health, that can help me in the future kind of spot trends, etc. And I have like some quick buttons so you can see great day, good day, fine day, meh day, bad day, and KO day. These are like quick buttons that when I click it, they automatically create a page in the correct database with the date of today. And there's like a couple of things that are preset. So whenever I click good day, it will automatically make a page with like the right header for a good day, and it will select the property for it being a good day. That way it kind of makes it easier for me to quickly assess what type of day it was, click that, and then fill in all of the rest of the things. And then I also have an overview which actually shows me all of the stuff that I did this month. So as you can see, I also have like the different banners that kind of showcase whether it was a good day or a meh day or a bad day, like kind of a visual aid for me to quickly see how I'm doing mood-wise and spot some easy trends. And then lastly, I have one that is called Quick Actions. If I click that, this is literally for me whenever I'm on the go and something comes up and I just quickly need to store it. I have a button for a new content idea. When I click that, it automatically creates an idea in my content database. When I do a new resource, it basically is like a link or something that I want to find later, like a YouTube video, so it goes into my resource database. I can click new note. That just allows me to create a quick note in my notes database, or a new task, which usually I do actually make a new task just right into the task database. But sometimes when someone mentions something, it is nice to have this quick action here, because it's just the more easy and accessible it is for me to add things to my databases in Notion, the quicker I will actually use it. And you know, the more thresholds I remove, the easier it is, and the more I can trust that I will actually use my own system. So those are my quick actions on my home screen. Then at the bottom, I actually have my bar with my 4 most used apps. WhatsApp is the most used communication form where I live, which is the Netherlands. I actually always thought that kind of was like everywhere, but then I made friends from like Scandinavia and they told me that they barely use WhatsApp. So that was very interesting to me, but where I live, most of my contact with like my family, my friends, my partner, all goes through WhatsApp. So I have that sitting there in my main bar because I just use it like multiple times a day. Then right next to it, I have Spotify, which is the app that I use primarily for listening to music. I do also have YouTube Premium and I tend to use YouTube as well, but that's mostly for ASMR or like really long kind of those videos that have 4-hour focus playlist. But Spotify is more like my music app for when I'm just listening to a specific playlist or when I just want to vibe out to some music. Then next to it, I have Discord, which is the app that I use to keep in touch with my community and all of the other communities that I'm part of in like the gaming space, so more like my content creation space. And then I use Gmail as my main mail app. The reason for that being is that I don't have my work email on my phone. I very much do not want to have work stuff on my phone. I have Teams on my phone for the only reason that sometimes I desperately need it. But since this is my private phone, I do also use it to make like corporate calls, but I don't want to have my email on here. Whenever I'm reading my email, that's during business hours, which is when I'm at my PC, and I really do not want to read them on the go. So I only have my personal email on here, which is a Gmail address, and my content creation email, which technically is work, but it's like not my corporate work basically. And that's also a Gmail address. So I have both of them in here, and I do feel like if you're using only Gmail, then the Gmail app is actually the nicest one to use because it has all the default Gmail features. Then before I move on to my second home screen, I actually kind of want to show you guys the widgets that I have on the side here, because this is like a second widget screen that I have, and I just have all my health information here. I used to have this on one of my home screens, but then I realized it's actually nicer to have it here because this is just one of those places I don't need my health data every single day, but it's like nice that it's quickly accessible. So you can quickly see my batteries. So if I have like my AirPods connected as well, I can quickly see how they're doing. If I have my Bluetooth headphones, anything, it just makes it easy to quickly see the batteries of your devices. Then I have my the Apple Health app, which counts your steps. I do have an Apple Watch, so it stores all the data in there. Then I have my sleep app, which actually basically calculates how good I'm sleeping, and it measures from my Apple Watch like my heart rate and the oxygen levels in my blood, everything, to kind of measure if I'm having good sleeps. Then I have my period app, which just tracks my cycle and tells me when I'm supposed to get my period, etc. And then I have another widget that kind of shows my sleeping data, but it's like a different view, because I do like to have those different views because they kind of show me different information basically. That is the widget screen on my phone. So that is basically all that is there. And I don't think I want to add much more. For instance, you'll notice on my phone, I don't have any news. I don't have any like traffic information. I don't personally drive that much. And also, I do not like to read the news. If I want to read the news, I will specifically go to a news website, but I do not want to be woken up by news. That doesn't make me happy. I try to keep up with it, but only like when I feel like I have the brain space for it, basically. Then we're going to go to my third home screen, or second, I guess. And that is where all of my main apps live. And here is also where the focus mode comes into play. I'll show you later which focus modes I have, but this screen is basically a screen that contains everything that I want to use on my phone on a regular basis. But this is also everything I want to hide on my phone when I don't want to have any distractions, basically. So I have a bunch of folders. I have a folder called Practical. This contains everything like Safari, my phone, my clock app, my settings, my Notion, like the controls for my smart lights in my home, my password manager. This is just all of those kind of apps that you just need. They're useful, but like you can't really uninstall them because this is your only way to use all of these things. But I also never really know in which folder to place them, so I just put them in a folder called Practical because it's literally, that's what it is. Those are just practical apps. Then I have a folder called Social, which is where I have all of my social apps. This is a folder that I wish I didn't have on my phone. Like, again, I said social media can be terribly distracting, and I struggle with that a lot when it comes to doom scrolling and like spending too much time on my phone, especially because I always have the feeling that as a content creator, I need to stay updated on like the latest trends and things that are going on, and, you know, kind of stay updated with news about the games or the companies that I'm following. And it can be really tiring to feel like you have to constantly be online. So this is a challenge that I'm definitely continuously trying to tackle. If you are a content creator and you have some really good tips for this, please feel free to pop them in the comments down below, because I would absolutely love to hear from other creators how you manage the balance of not being on social media too much. But this is basically my socials folder. So every social platform that I'm on, I will have it linked on here. Then I have my finance, which is basically just all of my bank apps, and also my Gumroad, which is where I sell my Notion templates to kind of see my sales and everything. So everything related to my finance and my income is in my finance folder. Then I have one for media, which is specifically like media in the form of film, because I have a separate folder for all of my photos. But this is just all of my apps of like video and music, basically, apart from Spotify because that's in my main dock. But this is all of the apps, like the streaming services like Twitch, like YouTube, all of those things. I just have it kind of bundled in this folder. Then I have, like I said, a separate folder for photos, because I have a bunch of photos apps, and I first had them all together in a media folder, but it turned out that it was really messy to have all of those apps sitting in one big folder. So I just decided to split them up because it made it a little bit easier for accessing all of these apps. Then I have one for travel, which is just my, like, the Dutch train app, basically. Google Maps, I have Bolt on here because actually I don't think I use Bolt that often, but when I travel for work, I tend to use Bolt or Uber, and I always uninstall these apps whenever I don't use them for a while, but the most latest one was Bolt, so that's the one that I still have on here. But I sometimes have Uber sitting in here depending on which trip I took last. And then I have Airbnb, which is also whenever I'm traveling and I've reserved an Airbnb, it's just nice to have that app on here so I can quickly contact a host or something. Then I have one for wellness, which is basically Auto Sleep, which is the app that I use to track my sleep. Fitness, which is the Apple Fitness app to track all of my activity from my Apple Watch, and Apple Health, which is kind of just the default health app on Apple that I don't use that often. I have to admit, I mostly use it, like the fitness app, for tracking workouts or movement, and then the Auto Sleep app to track my sleep schedule. And then lastly, I have a folder that tends to come and go. I don't always have it on my home screen, but it's called Events. This is for whenever I have events coming up in the near future and I want to have a quick access to like the apps that correspond to that event. So I'm actually going to a festival next week called ELSWHERE, and I'm going to TwitchCon this weekend. So I want to have like both of those apps at the tip of my finger. And then lastly, you might have spotted it already, is yet another Notion widget. It is said in Dutch, but it basically means my treatment exercises. And this is a note living in my note space in my Notion. So this is like, again, it's a direct link to a page that lives within my Notion space. And this is all of the exercises that I have gotten from my treatment. I'm doing treatment for my EDS and my fibro, and I'm saving that all on here so that during my treatment, I can quickly open this note and write things down. But whenever I'm doing my daily exercises, that's why it's also living on my homepage for now, because I have to do these exercises twice a day. I can very easily open this page and kind of just scroll through and see whatever I need to do. I hear you think, but Ro, this is not that many apps. I feel like, I mean, these folders are not super empty, but I know some people have like home screen after home screen after home screen with all their apps. And that is true. I actually have more apps than that you can see on this home screen, but they just all live in here. So for instance, the Notion calendar app, it has a widget on my home screen, but apart from that, I don't have it in a folder anywhere. There is other apps in here that I like, my digital ID app, which is like an app from the government here. I use it so rarely that to me, there is no need to put this on my homepage, because I might use it like once a month to do something where like I need to log in or something. And there's just no reason for me to have it at the tip of my finger. And I just have all of those living in here. And whenever I do need them, I will find them in here. Like, that's why I really like a search bar. I can quickly search for the app that I need. But I try to keep my home screen as clean as possible. And I think that might make a nice bridge to my focus profiles, because when we're talking about clean, this still is quite a distraction-full space, if that makes any sense. I was going to say distraction-free, and I was like, no, that's not what I mean. So the opposite of distraction-free, I guess, is distraction-full. But if you're going to go to my focus modes, I actually have 3 of them. One is just do not disturb, which basically just turns off all of my notifications. I turn this on when I go to the movies or when I'm hanging out with a friend and I just don't want to be disturbed that much. But it's basically all of the apps on my phone will still be accessible. My home screen won't change or anything. It's just I won't receive any notifications. Then when I have my sleep one, that's actually a default one on iPhone, and I just kind of customized it so no calls or anything will get through. But I set up like a couple of exceptions for like my parents and my sister and my best friend and my partner, that when I'm sleeping, notifications from them will actually show up on my phone and on my watch, so that they can basically call me out of bed in case of an emergency. And then I have a last profile, which is mindfulness, and that is my custom profile. So I'm just going to select that, and then I'm going to show you what changed. So as you can see, I still have 2 home screens. The first home screen is exactly the same as I've shown earlier in the video, but the second home screen actually changed a lot because I no longer have any of the folders in there. I have a quick search for YouTube, because usually whenever I'm in mindful mode, that's either because I am like working on something else and it's nice to have a YouTube video with either like some focus music or ASMR or something in the background, or it's because I'm trying to like study something or learn something or improve or work or anything. And then sometimes I use YouTube to like look up tutorials and stuff. So at first I didn't have this widget, but then I noticed myself having to navigate to YouTube anyways, and I realized it's actually much nicer if I just have a quick search bar for that on my home screen. The rehab or like treatment exercises are also still on my home screen, because I tend to put this focus mode on in the beginning of the day, and then it's still nice that I can access those whenever I have to do my exercises. But apart from that, I still have all the widgets, but there's like no folders with apps. And this is particularly useful because I'm a person, I cannot deal when there's like the little red notification thingy on your iPhone, because I have to click away the notifications. I can't deal with notifications. And I know that technically you can turn that off, but then I also have ADHD and I will just never notice the notification and I will never respond to any messages. So I need them to make sure that I see the notifications whenever I'm in a place that I can answer messages, but also I don't want to see them whenever I am trying to kind of like mute out all of the spaces on my phone. So this for me is by far the easiest way, by just hiding the apps. I can't see them. And then whenever I feel like I have time to answer messages, I can actually do that by just turning off the mindfulness mode on my phone. It doesn't actually block any apps, so I can still go here. And as you can see, I have some notifications right now. I'm very tempted to click them away. I struggle with the fact that there's a little one next to Snapchat right now. I don't like that. But it is easier because at least when I'm just using my phone, they don't show up by default. They're not like sitting on my home screen, because I have have to scroll back to that screen to actually see my notifications. So it's kind of the opposite of lowering the threshold to use my Notion. This is like increasing the threshold to use my social apps, basically. And then lastly, I actually do use the screen time function on iPhone, and I'm gonna show you what I've set up. So as you can see, my daily average is 3 hours and 11 minutes. And I have a goal this year for myself to get this down to under an hour a day. And I think the biggest key for me is going to be to deliberately use social apps for work instead of for doom scrolling. So like kind of allocate time for myself in a day where I'm allowed to scroll Instagram and scroll Twitter, etc. for maybe like 35 to 40 minutes. And actually, if there's anything that I feel like I should remember or write down or anything, like immediately do something with it, but see it more as if you're like reading up on like notes or something for a video, for instance. So instead of like trying to constantly 24/7 be aware of everything going on in the content creation space, kind of just allocate more dedicated time to it, because I feel like a lot of this time of the 3 hours and 11 minutes is me having FOMO, basically, because I don't even really enjoy the doom scrolling. I just want to see what everyone's up to because I want to feel involved. And I know that's such a silly thing because I'm not really involved. I'm just looking at their socials. So I think that's just, I need to change something about my mindset there. But to kind of help myself become aware, over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've actually set a screen time like limitation for myself. So I have 2 kind of like profiles or things that I want to limit. At first, I had my social apps and YouTube all combined, but I do notice myself quite often listening to music or watching tutorials on YouTube. And then whenever it counts up within the social time of like a total 1.5 hour for all your apps, that's basically impossible. So I decided to actually split them up. So I'm allowed to use Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Threads and Messenger. Actually, I'm allowed to use that 1 hour every day. I have Gmail in here, but I have been noticing that it's kind of annoying that I can't read my email. So I think I'm gonna actually delete that one. Now that we're here, I might as well just do that right away. Let me just, where is my Gmail? Hold on. I always find this like slightly confusing. Let's get rid of my Gmail. There we go. Because I need to be able to read my email. I don't even read my email that much. I first thought I should add it in here so that I don't get distracted by my email that much. But I don't feel like it's just as distracting because you can't really doom scroll in your mailbox. Well, I mean, I guess that depends on how full your mailbox is. But for me personally, I cannot doom scroll in my mailbox basically. But this is the app limits for like all of my social apps. And I try to keep that within 1 hour a day. I press the like 15 more minutes button so often. So I wish a feature that I genuinely wish was added to Apple is that you can also set a limit for yourself how many times you're allowed to press that 15 more minutes. Because I can see why that button is there. Like I can see why it is nice to still be able to overwrite this from time to time, because there is exceptions where you're like, crap, I literally need 10 more minutes to just finalize a reel or like upload something. Or there is scenarios where I'm like, I can see the 15 minutes, but I wish that I was able to just set a limit on how many times I could press that button. Or if there was like any dopamine release or something for if you don't press it. So like a little on-screen celebration or like something that helps you or like prevents you from being tempted to just be like, oh, another 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, if that makes any sense. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything, like any fun ideas that you have to counter those 15-minute temptations. And then lastly, I have YouTube, which is set to 1.5 hours a day. I still want to have YouTube limited because of YouTube Shorts. Because YouTube Shorts are just as bad as Reels and TikToks. They can just suck you in and all of a sudden you've lost 40 minutes of your life. So I feel like there still needs to be a time limit, even if it's just to make myself aware. But I also want to be able to, like I said, put on some music or watch ASMR and stuff like that. And that is basically all of the limits that I have on my phone. I've been really trying to get my screen time down. I am looking forward to kind of seeing at the end of the year, now that I've started the process for the past 2-3 weeks, to be more conscious, to be more mindful about how I use my phone, to see if that is actually going to improve. If you have any amazing tips for me, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, because I would absolutely love to hear if you have any suggestions that can help with reducing that screen time. So that was everything that I have on my phone. If you have a fully customized home screen for your phone, if you're excited for the new iOS features to actually finally do what Android has been doing for years, and that is actually have custom icons and like make everything match and stuff, I am super curious to hear all of your tips and tricks, so feel free to hop in the comments down below. And if this video was helpful to you, or if you liked it, please toss it a cheeky like, because it does really help the video get to more people. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I do a bunch of videos about productivity, Notion, productivity apps, healthy lifestyles, all of those things. So feel free to hop over to my channel, see what is on there, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye everyone!